Hello everyone. This week we are learning about emphasis. Emphasis is when you want something on your picture to stand out above everything else. You want it to be really noticeable and pop, which means it doesn't mean it explodes. It means that you see it really easy and really well. And so the emphasis in this picture is our goldfish. Okay. Also, we're taking what we learned about last week with value and applying that, and we're going to do some shading on our goldfish. Now, for my younger friends, if you're in kindergarten, first grade, and even some of you in second grade, you might not feel quite ready for the shading. So when we get to that part of the video and Miss Thompson is adding the yellow and the yellow orange and the orange and the red orange, if you don't feel comfortable with that, you can just pick an orange and color your goldfish in. There's nothing wrong with that. But for my third and fourth grade friends, for sure, you are ready to begin exploring shading and expanding on what we learned with our value last week. And then again, what we're learning about this week is emphasis. So we're still talking about value and we're adding emphasis to it. And it's a lot of fun. As you can see, it turned out really cute. I can't wait to see yours. So you need a paper, pencil, Sharpie, eraser, and crayons. Again, if you have to use markers, like if it's all you have, you could, but crayons work a lot better. Colored pencils too. It makes it so much easier for this. But if you have to use markers, it's not the end of the world. Don't worry about that. Okay, so let's get your stuff together and get to work. All right, so we're going to start by folding our paper in half. Make a nice crease, turn, and fold it in half again. Make a good crease. All right, and then open it up. And again, notice I have it on its side where it's short and it's chubby. Then we're going to go ahead and begin drawing our fish. We're going to start with our fish's body. Now our fish's tail is going to almost be the same size as the fish's body. So basically this side of our paper will be the tail and this side of our paper will be his body. So I'm going to start out, it's going to start off almost in the middle spot here, and it's going to curve up and come down to the point here, and then it's going to basically mirror it and go under it to almost identical spot but down here. Okay, so I'm going to go like this and this. Now you might be able to see my really light sketchy lines, and I can go back over it to make sure I am happy with the shape, and I just get a little more confident and darker as I am seeing that yes, that is indeed the shape that I want. Okay, then I'm going to go straight to the tail, which is going to be on this side. The tail is going to curve up and down at a pretty good, make a pretty good little hill here. All right, and then it's going to dip down into this little box, come down a good little distance there, and it's gonna have a sharp little turn there, and it's going to come up and in. All right, and then it's going to come back out and down. Make another turn. It's going to curve up to here and make a really sharp turn, and so that's its tail. All right, now that may look a little strange to you right now, but it'll kind of come together later. All right, so, and again, your shape does not have to be exactly like mine. If his tail, the shape of his tail comes out a little different, there's nothing wrong with that. Because think about when a fish swims anyway and they have these kind of flowy tails, it's constantly changing depending on what position they're in. So don't beat yourself up trying to make it look exactly like mine, okay? All right, then I'm going to make his little fin over here, and it's going to overlap his body right about here. And think of it as like a leaf. You could all draw a leaf, no problem. And so just pretend almost like you're drawing a leaf on top of him. Erase where the body goes through your leaf. And again, another reason to draw light. Mine looks like a little lemon. My fish has a lemon. All right, now I'm going to make a curved line right here for his little face. And then a circle for the eye. And like a partial or half circle for the inside of the eye. And then I need the fin on his back. It's going to start right here where this middle fold is. And it's going to come up and make a little turn and come back down. I feel like mine went a little too high. All right, and again, yours does not have to look exactly like mine, because again, as he would swim and move, it would constantly be changing and look a little different. All right, so notice how I'm doing the little lines on all of his fins and his tail, because his tail is sort of like a fin. It helps propel him into the water. All right. Okay, now I'm going to draw some little they're just little curved lines, and they are representing, or meaning they're supposed to look like, his little scales. But don't go nuts with it. And then I'm going to just draw some few little bubbles here and there. Be sure you make a variety of sizes for your bubbles. If they all look exactly the same, that's when it doesn't look so great. And I like to do them in groups of 3, although I probably should mix it up a little bit. And I'm going to make this one a group of 5. Whenever you're doing anything like this, odd numbers tend to look better. So 3, 5, 7, 9, things like that. 1. Okay, so I got my bubbles and I got my fish, and it looks really cute. And again, yours is probably going to look different, and it should, because you're a different person. We're not little robots. All right, next step is the Sharpie, and we're going to go over everything with the Sharpie, even our bubbles. If you don't have a Sharpie, you can use a black crayon, a regular black marker, or a black pen. All right, so I have my Sharpie, and I'm going to go over every single thing I just drew. There is nothing I will leave untouched by the Sharpie. At least not anything I drew, that is. All right, I'm going to make a little white spot for his eye. I color the rest in black. And I'm going to do his little lemon-shaped fin. And again, that's a good example of how things don't always necessarily turn out the way you planned. I was thinking leaf when I drew my fin, and it looks more like a lemon. But I'm not worrying about it. I'm just moving on. Because in art, there are no wrong answers. No one can really tell you that something's wrong in your art. Teachers of Van Gogh and I'm trying to think, who was it? Keith Haring, and lots of artists, their teachers tried telling them that they were doing it wrong. And imagine if they would have listened, all the art that we wouldn't have in the world. There's another artist named Henry Matisse. When he first came up with his style of art, people thought it was so crazy they called him a wild beast, which is kind of mean if you think about it. Okay, so I went over everything with my Sharpie. Now I'm going to take an eraser and I'm going to erase all my pencil you can still see. And again, another reason you want to draw light until you know you have it right. or as close to right as you can get. And again, those of you at home, please do not get eraser shavings all over your furniture and floors. Take your paper to the trash to shake the eraser shavings off. Your mom or dad or grandparents or aunt or whoever's home with you does not want to come in to find a huge mess. I guarantee. All right. And now my fish is ready for some color. Okay, so, well, as we start out our coloring, I'm going to go ahead and do my water and my bubbles first. And then that way we can focus on our fish, because that's what the picture is really about, is our fish. And that's also what we're learning about this week, is emphasis. Emphasis is what you want people to notice in your picture first. It's what you want to stand out. And in this case, it is the fish. So we're going to put our emphasis on that. But I'm going to go ahead and get the water out of the way and the bubbles. I'm putting my blue, Thompson needs to learn her colors. I'm putting white inside my bubbles. I realize that may seem a little silly because I'm doing white on white, but the reason for that is when I'm coloring with my blue, if I accidentally get some in the bubble, the white crayon will help kind of protect it and keep it white. It's not foolproof. You can't take your blue and just right over it. But it just helps. It's just like a little layer of protection. All right, and then I'm using my cerulean blue for the water. You can use any blue you would like, or maybe you have another plan. You don't want it to be blue. Maybe you want to have rainbow water or something. Although, don't get too creative with your water, because again, we don't want it to take away from your fish. Because we're learning about emphasis this week, and that emphasis is on our fish. And that's why I chose a goldfish, because water is typically blue and goldfishes are typically orange, and blue and orange are complementary colors, so they make each other stand out. They make each other more noticeable. And that helps with your emphasis. All right, so I'm going to fast forward to finish coloring my water. You can hit pause to finish coloring your water. If for some reason you're not already coloring your water, you should be. And then we'll come back and work on our fish, which is the more important part. Okay, so I finished my water. Notice I colored my water very softly and light, because again, this picture is about our goldfish. And remember, last week we learned about value and how you can have lighter and darker versions of color. And so I pulled out all of my oranges. This is just orange. This one is yellow orange, so obviously that's going to be lighter. This one is red orange, so it's going to be a little darker. And this one is scarlet, which means it has even more red in it. So I have them in order from lightest to darkest. And then I can also throw yellow in there, which will be the lightest color. So we're going to use value again, even though we're learning about emphasis. So I'm going to go from light to dark, and I'm going to start with my fish's belly, and I'm going to color at a curved angle. Okay, notice how it's a little bit of a curved line. It's towards the bottom of my fish, right along his belly. Picture, you know, what would be his little tummy, his little belly. And that is where I'm going to put the yellow. And I'm pushing down harder than I did when I did my water, because again, the emphasis is on the fish. And the more bold you make the color, the more bold it stands out. It's more noticeable. All right, and I'm adding a little bit to his face as well. All right, so there's my yellow. I pushed down fairly hard. I did a curved angle. And I'm trying to make sure I've covered all of the white as much as I can. All right, so now I'm going to go to the next lightest color, which is my yellow orange. And again, this is that, so it's kind of like we're taking what we learned about last week with our value and blending it in with our emphasis, what you want people to notice. Now again, I'm doing a kind of curved angle, and I'm starting right where I stopped with the yellow, and I'm making them touch and even overlap just a little bit. Okay, let me see if I can kind of zoom in on that a little bit so you can get a good look. All right, so I'm going right above it and a little bit on top of it. I'm starting out a little softer, and then I'm going to go back over it a little darker when I'm more comfortable with how I did it. All right, so again, I'm going back over it now, I'm pushing down harder and making it darker. I'm still doing a curved angle, and I'm still just above the yellow and a little bit on top. All right, so there is my yellow orange. Now, little trick with value and shading. I could take my lighter color, my yellow, and right where the yellow orange and the yellow meet, I can take that yellow and kind of blend it in a little. Now, crayon isn't the best for this. Colored pencil actually works a little better for this, but you can kind of get the idea. It just helps mix it in a little bit. All right, now I'm going to go with the next color. Again, I'm going light to dark, and it's just orange, good old orange. So again, I'm going to go right on top of the yellow orange, curved angle. I'm going to start out lighter, so that way if I make a mistake, I haven't pushed down really hard. And I'm going above the yellow orange and a little bit on top. Now, this is not as dramatic of a color change. In fact, on the camera, it may be hard for you to tell a difference at all, but it is there. So now I'm going to go back over it, push down a little harder, and make it darker. I'm trying to cover the white, still doing a curved angle. And keep in mind, I'm going to be able to go a little faster than you are because I've been doing this longer. All right, now I'm going to go to my lighter one. I'm just going back one color, and I can go on top of that to help it blend. And again, crayon is not the best for blending and shading. Colored pencil is a little better, but you know, just depends on what you have. I don't like sharpening colored pencils, so I pretty much avoid them as much as I can. All right, so now I'm going back, and now I'm on red orange, okay? And again, I'm going at a curved angle. I'm just above the orange and overlapping it a little. Now, for my younger friends, if you're in kindergarten, first grade, and even some of our second graders, you may be feeling really lost and confused right now because shading is an older skill for our bigger kids. And so if this is seeming a little hard to you, that's completely okay. But remember, part of our growth mindset that we do here at the Innovative Learning Academy is trying things that are new and hard, because that's how we learn new things. And even if you have to think of it like this, think of it as stripes. I have a yellow stripe, I have a yellow-orange stripe, and now I have kind of an orangey red-orange stripe. And so if that helps you a little bit, you know, that's good. All right, now I'm going to actually turn my paper at a little bit of an angle, and I'm going to go up higher with this red orange because I don't want to have too much of the scarlet because it is has a lot of red in it. I'm going to use some of it, but I don't want to use too much of it. So I'm going higher. I'm still, see that kind of curve I'm doing? And again, for my younger friends, if that doesn't make sense to you, it's okay to color side to side if you feel like you need to. Alright, I'm going to finish his face with this red and orange. I'm not going to put any of the scarlet on there. And keep in mind, you may have different colors than Miss Thompson does, and that's okay. Alright, so now I have my red, orange in there. Let me zoom back out so you're not missing what I'm doing. Alright, now remember how we go back one color? So I'm going back to just good old orange, and I'm going on top of that red orange to help blend it. I'm still trying to go at the same angle, that kind of curved angle. And again, remember, I can go quite a bit faster than you can because I've been doing it longer. I can even take my yellow and go over the whole thing. Again, don't scribble. All right, now I'm ready for the darkest color, which is the scarlet. And I'm coming from the top and I'm going down. Notice the kind of curve. And again, that helps give your fish some form. The shading and the curved lines or the curved angle you color at helps give your fish some form and make it look more three-dimensional. And again, don't let the fact that I can do it super fast confuse you. Remember, you can always hit pause. Oh, and look how fantastic that is. I can't wait to see yours. Now I'm going to take my yellow orange and I'm going to kind of go into the yellow a little more and kind of try to blend that a little more. See how it's kind of blending in a little bit? And the more kind of layers and the thicker that it gets, that helps you. All right. Oh, he's looking good. I love this. Okay, so now for the fins, we're going to go a little more simple. We are just going to use orange, just plain Jane orange. If I can figure out where it is. There it is, orange. All right, so for the fin, I'm going to color in the same direction that I drew those little lines. And I'm starting with orange. Okay, notice how I started out kind of light. And now I'm going to go back over it and press down harder to color dark. I'm still trying to stay at that same direction though that I'm coloring. All right, so there is his little fin. All right, now his back fin. Again, I'm going to color in the same direction as those lines that we drew. So if you made your lines go in a different direction, that's the direction you're going to color. All right, so I'm going to, and same thing with the tail. All right, I'm going to start out softer and then I'm going to press down harder. I am going to fast forward to finish coloring his fins. You can hit pause and finish coloring yours, and then we'll talk about how it turned out. All right, and there is our fish. We took what we learned last week with value, and we did some shading on the main part of his body by using 4 different values of orange and yellow. And then we're learning about emphasis this week, and that is that you have, typically it's one, it could be more than one thing, but something that stands out, and there's no question what the picture is about. And in this case, it is our beautiful little goldfish. Okay, now you could have gone and made the water a little darker if that's what you wish, or you could leave it soft like this. I think I'm going to leave it like this because, again, I don't think there's any question that the fish is the emphasis here. Sometimes people say it makes it pop. That doesn't mean he's exploding. It means you see him really easy. You notice him right away. Okay, so that's basically it. Again, please share your goldfish with me. Send me an email or use the Google form on my website, and have a great week.